They didn't just lie, they engineered a masterpiece, a carefully woven illusion sewn into textbooks, whispered in pews, reinforced by every glowing screen. The story, simple, comforting, deadly. Death is the end. That's what they sold you. Religion wrapped it in gold. Judgment, heaven, hell. Science dismissed it outright. Neurons firing, lights out, nothing more. But both were staring at shadows on the wall, while the truth stood just behind the curtain. Undeniable, unspoken, terrifying. Because somewhere in the locked vaults of the US government, among files marked top secret and eyes only, a truth more ancient than religion and more dangerous than war was quietly confirmed. Death is not the end. It is a phase shift in consciousness. Declassified CIA document number HRVGATEWAY1973. This wasn't a poet's dream, not a monk's vision. This was military intelligence, analysts, remote viewers, physicists, not trained to believe, trained to verify. And what they found changed everything. The revelation they buried. Inside the CIA's now declassified gateway process lies a seismic truth. Consciousness doesn't emerge from the brain. It uses the brain. Like a radio doesn't create the broadcast, it simply tunes it in. Which means when the body dies, the broadcast continues. Not metaphorically, not mystically, literally. You don't end, you shift frequencies. Your mind detaches from meat and bone, and what's left behind? Everything. Awareness, memory, identity, still intact, expanded, unleashed. Why hide this? Because if humanity knew, really knew, that death wasn't real, fear would collapse. And fear is the system's favorite leash. No more fear of death, then no more blind obedience. No more surrendering to corrupt powers, empty ideologies, hollow promises. If you are eternal, what could they possibly use to control you? This was never about death. It was always about dominion. Keep the masses afraid, and you keep them compliant. But when you take away that fear, when people remember who they are, the leash snaps, the illusion crumbles, the awakening begins, the beginning of the end of the lie. They tried to bury it under black budgets, code names, and scientific gaslighting. They classified, redacted, dismissed, but they couldn't erase everything, not forever. Thanks to FOIA requests, rogue insiders, relentless seekers of truth. One document surfaced like a crack in the matrix. CIA document number HRVGATEWAY1973. An analysis of out-of-body states, vibrational frequency shifts, and post-mortem consciousness retention. And its findings shook the entire premise of reality. The final blow to the death myth. The consciousness, they concluded, is non-local. It doesn't live in your head, it lives in the field. The body is just a receiver. And when the receiver dies, the field remains. You remain. Just like the radio signal outlasts the shattered speaker. Just like the dream awakes. After the dream collapses. Mystics knew it. Near-death experiences screamed it. And now, the government quietly confirmed it. They hoped no one would notice. But we did. And this is only the beginning. The forbidden experiment. If death isn't the end, then what else have they hidden from us? Because if consciousness outlives the body, if the mind persists beyond death, it doesn't just survive, it evolves. And someone, somewhere, knew that. The secret they couldn't contain. In 2003, a crack formed in the wall of silence. A document was quietly declassified. Its title, The Gateway Report. But this wasn't abstract mysticism, it was military-grade metaphysics. A classified manual for bending reality itself. Inside, one revelation stood above all. Consciousness is not bound by the body. Time and space are illusions. And death, merely a shift in frequency. Let that settle in. We're not talking about fringe theories. We're talking about a sanctioned US government program, funded, tested, and deployed. The mind, they discovered, could detach from the body. The soul could travel without limitation, across vast distances, even into other dimensions. And it wasn't just theory, it was training. Remote viewing, the superpower, they tried to weaponize. Inside the Pentagon's black budget programs, a new kind of soldier was being forged, not with guns, but with consciousness. They called it remote viewing. We call it humanity's lost superpower. Agents were taught to close their eyes, detach from the physical, and gather intelligence from places they'd never physically visited. Deserts in the Middle East, underground military bases, even alien worlds. Sounds insane. The results weren't. These psychic soldiers returned with data, accurate, verifiable, and often impossible to explain by conventional means. So why was the government funding this? Because what began as surveillance quickly turned into something darker. They'd realized something chilling. If the soul can survive death, it can also fight after death. The battlefield doesn't end when the heart stops. The body was no longer the limit. It was just the beginning. The soul as a weapon. The implications, terrifying. If the human mind could transcend space and time, if soldiers could extract intelligence from the ether itself, then reality was no longer private, war was no longer physical, and death no longer the final cost. They weren't just exploring consciousness, they were arming it, but tampering with the veil came at a price. Because what they found next didn't just shift their understanding, it shattered it. What began as exploration turned into exploitation. And soon, the experiment spiraled beyond control. Agents reached realms no human was meant to touch. And the system, once curious, began to fear what it had awakened. Because when you tamper with the soul, you risk disturbing what never sleeps. The ultimate cover-up. Why they don't want you to know. They found the truth, but they didn't share it. They buried it, because the greatest threat to control is a mind unafraid of death. Let that sink in. If you knew, truly knew, that consciousness survives the body, would you live the same way? Would you obey the rules designed to keep you small, silent, and compliant? Of course not. You would walk through this world with fire in your eyes. You would rise each morning, unafraid, unbound, unshaken. And that is the one thing they cannot allow. Death was their final leash. The illusion of death is their most powerful weapon. Governments, religions, corporations, they've all played their part in shaping it. They made death a prison sentence, a threat, a currency of fear. Because as long as you're afraid to die, you're easier to control, more obedient, more dependent. So they locked the truth away, behind concrete walls, under forged signatures, inside vaults marked eyes only. They buried it beneath decades of disinformation, laughed it off as conspiracy, and trained you to laugh too. But now, the cracks are beginning to show. Cracks in the lie. Whistleblowers leaked documents, former remote viewers speaking openly, the Monroe Institute's methods bleeding into mainstream meditation circles, the CIA's once classified Gateway report now circulating freely online, and through those cracks, light is pouring in. Because this was never just a cover-up of information, it was a cover-up of power. The power that comes when fear no longer owns you. The power that emerges when you remember who and what you truly are. The truth that changes everything. When you realize death is an illusion, fear loses its grip, tyrants lose their throne, and you remember. You remember your true nature, infinite, conscious, eternal. You were never meant to be a pawn. You were built to be a creator. But instead of teaching you this, they turned spiritual truth into state secrets. Because they knew a liberated soul is ungovernable. A fearless mind is revolutionary. And once that spark ignites, it spreads. The beginning of the end for the lie. Secrets have a habit of leaking, especially when they align with universal law. And now that the veil is thinning, the question is no longer if this truth will reach the masses, but when. The CIA may have buried the gateway files, but they couldn't erase the souls who lived what those files confirmed. And as more awaken, the illusion begins to fracture. Because the moment you stop fearing death, you stop fearing life. And that is the key they never wanted you to find. But now you're holding it. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the very mechanics of how your consciousness escapes the body, what it sees beyond that sacred threshold, and why ancient mystics, secret agencies, and awakened insiders all speak of the same thing: a universe far stranger and more alive than we were ever allowed to believe. The forbidden knowledge they tried to erase. What if the government didn't just observe the soul, but tried to hack it? Not just spycraft, not just war games, but full-blown reality manipulation. It started with the Gateway process, a strange fusion of classified science and ancient mysticism. Behind the Pentagon's iron doors, sound frequencies merged with spiritual practices, and something terrifyingly beautiful emerged, a blueprint to bend time and break free from the body. Using hemisync audio, binaural beats, and deep meditative states, test subjects learned to reach the Focus 10 state, a conscious mind inside a sleeping body. That's when the gates opened. Exit the body at will, through trained out-of-body experiences. Perceive beyond time, accessing timelines past, present, and future. Dismantle the illusion of death, not as an ending, but a frequency shift. Let that settle. This wasn't imagination. This was military-funded metaphysics. And it worked. Remote viewers described enemy sites with surgical precision. Others claimed to access the Akashic record, glimpsing past lives and future events. And a select few returned with stories from beyond, realms where matter dissolves and only consciousness remains. The implications? The soul is real, it's untouchable, and it's not bound by time or flesh. This isn't just spiritual, it's strategic. Because if you can leave your body, spy through dimensions, access timelines, you're not just a citizen, you're a cosmic being in training. And that is why they tried to erase it. They shut down funding, buried the reports, mocked the science. Why? Because this was never just about life after death. It was about life before it. If you can transcend the body while you're still alive, then who are you, really? A machine, or a multidimensional force clothed in skin? The Pentagon knows. The CIA knows. Now, you're beginning to. And here's the part they fear most. Once you touch the truth, you don't go back to sleep. CIA documents suggesting an afterlife, military experiments in astral espionage, suppressed techniques that hint at immortality. It's all real, it's all hidden, and it's all waiting for you. They want you distracted, they want you afraid, they want you docile, compliant, asleep. But if you're still reading this, you're not asleep anymore. Because the real question isn't whether consciousness survives death. The real question is, what else are they hiding about you? In the next chapter, we dive deeper into that forbidden layer, where time itself unravels and the greatest lie ever told gets exposed, the immortality lie, the gateway experiment. When the CIA cracked the code of eternal life, death was sold as final, a boundary none could cross. But beneath layers of redacted ink, behind locked doors and guarded secrets, a cosmic truth waits to be uncovered, one that changes everything. The Gateway experiment shattered illusions, a CIA venture that pierced the veil between life and death. Consciousness revealed, not confined to the brain, but pure energy, boundless, eternal, immune to decay. Death is no ending. It's a retuning, a shift in frequency, moving from the visible into the invisible. Two worlds, ancient mystics and quantum physicists, whispered the same secret: you are not your body. Awareness itself, beyond flesh, beyond time, awareness that cannot die. Immortality, not myth, but fact. The truth was weaponized, because one who no longer fears death breaks free from control. A society awakened, timeless, limitless, unshaken by fear, would be unstoppable. Imagine millions rising to this knowledge, governments faltering, control unraveling, the grand illusion, crafted over centuries, crumbling. Instead, the truth was locked away, encoded in cryptic military jargon, buried beneath lies and discredited by science. Yet it lingers, waiting. Now you see it. The next chapter unravels the deepest illusion of all. What if time itself is the prison? Brace yourself. What follows will unravel everything you thought you knew. The time lie. How they trapped you in a false reality. Not only did they lie about death, but they lied about time itself. Life was taught to you as a line, beginning with birth, ending with death. A straight march toward an inevitable conclusion. But what if that entire story was a deception? Thousands returning from the edge of death share the same revelation. Time dissolves. The past, present, and future merge into one boundless now. Life is not a line. It is a sphere, infinite and all-encompassing. This isn't a dream you wake from. Life itself was the dream. Death is the awakening. And you are far from alone in this truth. Within the now declassified CIA Gateway papers, the cold facts reveal: time is no linear march. It's a field of frequencies, and consciousness moves across it freely. At death, the veil lifts, exposing every version of yourself. Not just the one you know, but all the others, existing beyond the limits of ordinary sight. You don't only exist in this moment, you exist in every moment. The past remains accessible, the future is already real, and your true self is living across countless realities simultaneously. They trapped you in a prison of ticking clocks, shrinking eternity down to a fear of running out of time. Yet the truth is liberating. Time never bound you. Once you grasp your timeless nature, fear fades, limitation falls away, and awakening begins. The next chapter will tear open the final seal. A truth so profound, so dangerous. It explains why every other secret was hidden. You are not merely alive. You are Source itself. The cover-up, why they don't want you to know. Now the veil lifts and you see the grand illusion. Death isn't an end, it's a shift in vibration. Time isn't a prison, it's a lens you've been taught to wear. You aren't bound, you're infinite. So why do so many remain trapped? Because true freedom is the ultimate threat. If humanity fully remembered its immortal nature, the control matrix would collapse in an instant. Fear would disappear. Submission would vanish. No one would barter their soul for safety. Imagine entire systems undone. Governments, religions, media, each one built on the same lie. You are fragile, you are limited, you are temporary. But what if you couldn't die? That truth was too dangerous. It's why the gateway process was buried in black budget files. Why CIA research into astral projection, remote viewing, and time dilation was redacted and hidden behind top-secret clearances. Why mysticism was branded madness, ancient wisdom reduced to children's tales, and any voice of truth was silenced or shamed. They knew a species that wakes to its boundless consciousness cannot be ruled. That awakened souls are weapons more powerful than armies, yet cracks are appearing in their grand design. Declassified documents slip through the cracks. Whistleblowers speak openly. Millions are waking in waves. Once the veil tears, there's no retreat, no going back into the shadows. In the final chapter, we'll expose the ultimate revelation, your immortal core, unchained, uncloaked, and waiting for you to return home, now. Your escape plan. Break the simulation. You're still here, reading, questioning, waking up. That alone makes you dangerous. Most will never pierce beyond the veil. They'll drift through life, trapped inside the simulation, believing what they were told, never what they felt. But you've seen the fractures in the code, the CIA's hidden gateway research, proving consciousness outlives the body, experiments that shattered time and rewrote reality's rules, documents unveiling astral travel, soul identity, and the secret of quantum immortality. They wanted you to forget, but now you remember. That tunnel of light at death, not a myth, a dimensional passage, a shift in frequency as your awareness slips free beyond the simulation's grip. The beings that greet you, not gods, not aliens, fragments of your own eternal self, higher fractals from planes you've yet to comprehend, your life flashing before your eyes. Not just memory, it's time collapsing. Because the truth is simple, time never existed. This isn't mysticism. This is classified government truth, buried deep in black budget projects and redacted files. They named it the Gateway Experience. A documented way to exit the simulation on command. Through frequency control, hemispheric sync, and altered states of consciousness. Once you understand death isn't the end, but the ultimate escape, everything shifts. Fear of loss fades, illusions lose their grip. You begin to live from truth. You are not a body, you are not a timeline, you are pure, infinite, eternal awareness, dancing within a dream. And when the dream finally fades, you don't die, you awaken. Your escape plan, what now? You're still here, reading, questioning, waking up. And that alone makes you dangerous, because most will never pull back the curtain. They'll stay locked inside the simulation, blind, tethered to the lies they were fed. But you've cracked the code. You've seen the cracks in the matrix, the CIA's buried gateway files proving consciousness outlives the flesh, experiments tearing apart time, bending reality's rules, secrets of astral travel, soul identity, quantum immortality. They wanted you to forget, but something inside you remembers. The tunnel of light at death. It's no fairy tale. It's a dimensional handoff, a shift in frequency as your awareness slips past the simulation's edge. The beings that greet you, not gods, not aliens. They are you, higher fractals of your eternal self, waiting on other planes. Your life flashing before your eyes, not memory. Time collapsing on itself. Because time, it never really existed. This is no mysticism. This is secret science, locked behind black budget doors. The Gateway Experience. How to break free. How to exit at will. Through frequency control, brainwave syncing, consciousness unlocked. Because once death loses its finality, everything changes. Fear dies. Illusions crumble. You begin to live in truth. You are not a body. You are not a timeline. You are infinite awareness, playing inside a dream. And when the dream ends, you don't die. You wake up. Beyond the veil. What the dying see and why they're silenced. What if death isn't the end? What if it's the ultimate revelation? Millions who've touched the edge speak in one voice. Not myths, not hallucinations, patterns begging to be decoded. They rise, floating beyond their lifeless shells, watching from above, free from flesh's prison. They pass through a tunnel of light, not brain fog, but a frequency jump, a vibrational recalibration, a leap into expanded existence. At the tunnel's end waits a light so bright it blinds, and yet welcomes. The Gateway Papers call it the source field, the primal pulse birthing everything. Why bury this? Because the CIA's clinical findings cut deep. Death is not a stop sign. It's a vibrational upgrade. Your mind shedding limits like a snake sheds skin. The afterlife is no distant galaxy. It's expanded consciousness itself. You don't vanish. You awaken. You remember you're a spark of eternal light, unbreakable and boundless. This knowledge terrifies the powers that be, because a fearless humanity is ungovernable. Control depends on your fear of death, your belief in limits, your silence. So they bury the truth, silence the witnesses, mock the mystics. But the veil thins, the awakening grows. You are beginning to see what the dying see, to pierce the silence, to claim your infinite truth. This is no comfort for the faint-hearted. This is a call to break free, because the light at the tunnel's end isn't a promise, it's your true home, waiting for you to remember. The cosmic trap. Why they keep you afraid of dying, and the ultimate escape. How to die before you die. What if everything you fear is a lie? A carefully engineered illusion crafted to cage your soul. The dread of death, the paralyzing fear that holds millions hostage, is the greatest prison of all. Who benefits? Governments, secret agencies, shadow powers. They've thrived for centuries, feeding on your fear, because a society that truly knows death is an illusion cannot be controlled. Without fear, obedience crumbles like dust in a storm. Power, money, status, hollow holograms, empty symbols of control, designed to distract you, to keep you compliant. This is the cosmic trap. An elaborate veil woven tight to keep your consciousness shackled, too scared to rise. The CIA buried the gateway files deep in vaults, not just to hide secrets, but to bury your freedom. But freedom is possible. There is an escape, a way to die, before you die. Ancient mystics whispered it for millennia. Now science confirms it. CIA science, no less. Ego death is no mere spiritual metaphor. It's quantum physics in motion. The self you clutch desperately dissolves, melts back into the infinite field, the source from which all life flows. The afterlife. Not some fixed destination, but a thought-responsive realm. A mirror reflecting your deepest beliefs and expectations. Reincarnation. Not rebirth as you think, but a frequency shift, changing channels in the cosmic hologram, slipping into new realities like a dancer moving through shadows. Here's the shocker. You've already died, infinite times. This life, all the pain, the joy, the struggle, is just one frame in your eternal film. Imagine breaking free from the ego's grip, shedding your identity like a snake sheds its skin, to awaken in a realm where your thoughts create reality, where death is not your enemy but your guide, where fear evaporates into pure, radiant awareness. This is the ultimate rebellion. To die before you die is to reclaim your power, to be free from fear, free from illusion, free from control. Are you ready? To shatter the cosmic trap, to see the hologram for what it really is, to step beyond death's veil, beyond their lies, and reclaim your infinite self. The path is open. The choice is yours. Break the death illusion. They'll never teach you this in school. They won't whisper it on the nightly news. Because if you wake up, everything they built to control you crumbles, and that terrifies them. But here's the raw truth. You're awake, not by accident, not by chance. You've been called to a mission far greater than yourself. The question isn't what happens when you die, because death is no longer a full stop. The real question is, which version of you wakes up? Death is not an end. Death is a door. And time is the greatest lie ever told. Step through that door. Break the illusion. The CIA's gateway files, once buried in secrecy, now declassified, prove without a doubt consciousness survives death. But here's the deeper secret hiding in the shadows. You don't have to die to be free. Freedom isn't locked in a coffin. It isn't hidden behind some veil. Freedom is a state of mind. Your ignorance? It's been weaponized. Society is a distraction factory, designed to keep your mind foggy, compliant. But your jailbreak tools, They've been in your hands all along: astral projection, lucid dreaming, deep meditation. These ancient keys, once dismissed as mysticism, are your gateways to freedom, right here, right now, while you still breathe. This isn't idle theory, not spiritual wishful thinking. This is war, for your mind, for your soul, for your very reality. And you're on the front lines. Every moment trapped in fear, doubt, ignorance strengthens the chains. Every insight, every question, every step beyond the veil weakens the system's grip. Your mission: break the death illusion, pierce the time veil, reclaim your infinite self. Because the system's greatest nightmare isn't rebellion in the streets. It's awakening within the soul. Are you ready to fight for your freedom? Or will you stay asleep, forever a prisoner of the matrix? The door is open. Time is waiting to be rewritten. And you are already eternal. Death is a door. Time is a lie. Step through. The Great Awakening. Why they fear your consciousness. For centuries you've been programmed, carefully, relentlessly, not just by governments or institutions, but by the entire system built to keep you small, obedient, distracted. They drilled these lies deep into your mind. Obey authority, not your infinite self. Chase money, not higher perception. Fear death, not remember you are eternal. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's cold, hard reality. The same shadow forces that buried the truth about death and consciousness have orchestrated a mass hypnosis, trapping millions in a prison of fear and ignorance. They don't want you to remember who you truly are, because if you awaken, if you break free from their narrative, everything crumbles. The recently declassified Gateway Papers didn't just reveal secret military projects. They exposed the blueprint for your liberation. Consciousness is not a byproduct of brain or body. It's the creator of reality itself. Your awareness weaves the very fabric of existence. Time, just another cage, an obedience mechanism, linear and limiting. You are a god, drugged by distractions, illusions, false beliefs designed to keep you asleep. Look around. The world is a stage. The puppeteers pull your strings with fear, division, false purpose. From school to media, religion to politics, every system feeds one story. You are small, you are powerless, you must obey. But what if the opposite is true? What if you hold the power to bend reality right now? What if your consciousness can expand beyond time and space, accessing infinite dimensions of possibility? The Great Awakening isn't a spiritual buzzword. It's a seismic shift in how humanity will see itself. And that's why they fear it so deeply. Because awakened consciousness means the end of control. No more fear, no more manipulation, no more blind obedience. The truth is simple, yet explosive. You are not your body. You are not your history. You are not limited by time. You are infinite. Every distraction, every false belief, every moment spent asleep is another brick in the wall they build around you. But the cracks are forming, the veil is thinning, and your mind, the real you, is beginning to stir. The question is, will you answer the call, claim the power that's always been yours, or will you remain trapped, forever a prisoner of their illusions? Because the Great Awakening is here, and it's not waiting for anyone. Your consciousness is your ultimate weapon. It's time to unleash it. The system fears your awakening. It's time you fear nothing. Steps to shatter the illusion. Take control. Break free. Awaken. Silence the noise. Every day your mind is flooded with distractions, designed to keep you externally focused, drowning out your inner voice. Media screams fear. Politics divide and conquer. Consumerism seduces with hollow promises. They mock meditation because it threatens their control. Meditation is the key to your chains. When you silence the noise and turn inward, you glimpse through the matrix. See the programming designed to keep you small. Silence is not emptiness. It's the doorway to your true power. Reclaim your mind terms, like astral projection and lucid dreaming, dismissed as fantasy or woo-woo, are your birthright, your mind's natural ability to explore beyond the cage. Astral projection isn't escape, it's reclaiming your sovereignty beyond the body. Lucid dreaming isn't fantasy, it's interdimensional training. Practice navigating realities beyond the one they feed you. Master these states and tap infinite possibilities, freedom from time, space, and their rules. See through the lie. Education doesn't teach you to think, it teaches what to think. Religion offers salvation, but only within the cage of belief. Science sells nihilism, convincing you life is random, meaningless. Both lock you in mental prisons. True freedom? Question everything. Break the conditioned patterns. Dare to see the vastness of your own consciousness. The ultimate truth, why this was buried. If the masses understood even a fraction of this, the entire control structure would collapse. Death is an illusion, not an end, but a gateway. Reality, a hologram, a construct of your consciousness, not a fixed prison. You are infinite consciousness, unbound by the limits forced on your senses. They cannot control you. That's why this truth has been systematically buried. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve your programming. Opening doors the system terrifies you will walk through. Remote viewing was classified because it proved your mind can navigate beyond physical laws. Meditation is mocked and ridiculed because stillness is the ultimate rebellion, awakening your awareness beyond their grasp. This is no fear-mongering. This is fact. The system's greatest weapon, your ignorance. Your greatest weapon, your awareness. Break free from the chains. Silence the noise. Reclaim your mind. See through the lie. Your escape plan, already in your hands. Wake up or stay a slave. Most will scroll past this message, blind to the invisible chains binding their minds. But you're different. You feel the stirrings of a deeper truth beneath the surface. A call to break free from the cage built around your consciousness. Have you heard about the CIA's suppressed consciousness hacks? Ancient secrets weaponized to unlock your mind's true potential? Do you know it's possible to exit the matrix without dying? To step beyond the programmed illusion while still breathing? Have you ever wondered who really built this elaborate prison and why it's designed to keep you asleep? The answers are closer than you think. Hidden in classified files, buried under layers of disinformation. The gateway protocols reveal the blueprint for freedom, but time is running out. Every day, these truths are being erased, censored, rewritten. Before the system silences your awakening for good, the question isn't if you'll break free. It's when you'll finally realize you already have. Because the moment you see through the illusion, the system's grip slips. They fear your awakening because it's the one thing they can't control. So now it's your turn. Prove them right. Wake up. Break the chains. Remember who you truly are.